Yes, folks, Winston Peters can never ever be trusted again. Now, for those who don't know who Winston Peters is, well, he's the leader of the New Zealand First Party, aka the Winston First Party. Now, all the radical socialist stuff that's occurring in New Zealand right now can be laid at the feet of Winston Peters. He had the balance of power at the last election and he chose to go with Ardern and the Greens for no other reason than a personal vendetta against the National Party, who exposed his superannuation overpayments. And now Winston First is using that as an excuse to milk over $2 million out of the New Zealand taxpayer. Have a look.
And as Jacinda Ardern talked trade, the man filling in for her as acting Prime Minister was taking on political rivals in court. Winston Peters claims two senior National MPs tried to undermine him before the last election. Kim Baker-Wilson was in the High Court in Auckland.
Into court and into battle.
You swear by Almighty God that the evidence you give shall be the truth.
This is the acting Prime Minister taking civil action, demanding answers and demanding damages.
Is your full name Winston Raymond Peters? Are you a Member of Parliament and you reside in Northland?
It is, I am, and I do.
He's taking aim at Nationals Paula Bennett and Anne Tolley. They were in government when details of his overpayments made it out.
This, to me, and I believe all decent thinking New Zealanders of all political persuasions, is not acceptable.
No, he doesn't give a damn about New Zealanders. He only cares about Winston.
It all became public just weeks before Election Day. He calls the leak opportunistic, so where does he think it came from?
The nature of the leak, on my analysis, most likely benefited the National Party, who were the sitting government.
Anne Tolley and Paula Bennett were ministers and told of the error under the no surprises policy. They'll be called to court.
It's clear that the use no surprises convention was a sham by the officials who disclosed of my private information to the two National Party ministers.
He says they should never have been told, and that's where MSD and its staff come in.
Because he now travels around the country and he gets people saying, oh yeah, but you ripped off social welfare.
The ministry's former chief executive, Brendan Boyle, and State Services Commissioner Peter Hughes are also named in the case.
We've obtained fresh figures which show Crown Law has so far billed for more than $300,000. And if Winston Peters wins his big dollar damages, taxpayers will pay even more.
Yes, over $2 million more. He's suing 4 people for $450,000 each, plus the Crown Law costs. And now to the next day in court.
Journalists were among those giving evidence today as the acting Prime Minister continued his court battle over the leaking of his superannuation details. Winston Peters was paid as a single person for years when he actually had a partner. And today she also took to the witness box. Here's Kim Baker-Wilson.
When did Winston Peters fill out this form? Was his partner even with him when he handed it over? And how was it even filled out in the first place?
Yeah, now I'm getting conflicting messages here. Some reports say this part here, this whole question was left blank. But listen to this.
I see them as 3 black ticks.
Well, you might. Some might see that as blue.
But this...
What?
Is now very much a case of he says, she says, between Mr. Peters and the MSD worker who took his pension form.
Ms. evidence will be that you were mistaken, that you were alone for the duration of the interview with her, and that you never said anything to her about having a partner.
Well, Miss there, then mistaken in her memory. Jan was there. She had to notice because Jan was there.
Winston introduced me to the lady who was to conduct the interview as Jan Trotman, his partner. I sat with Winston. I recall her working on the computer. She seemed experienced.
Mr. Peters tossing aside suggestions it doesn't matter if she was there because he still signed a form that was wrong.
It's hardly beside the point when you make the allegation that there was no reference to having a partner and the partner's sitting there. Well, I just think that some people in this defence are covering their butts, and it's clear as...
Covering their butts? Yeah, so who exactly is covering their butt, Winston? You seem to have a very good memory of your pension interview day, but you can't remember this, which happened 4 years later. Court documents earlier showed Peters was also sent a letter 4 years into his 7 years of overpayments by officials asking him to confirm if he was single. I have no recollection of receiving the same, but I do not doubt I would have received it, Peters told the court at the time. So he suddenly forgets. He suddenly loses his memory when it's convenient. Yes, folks, Winston is all about Winston. And some people even believe he's a nationalist, when that couldn't be further from the truth. Now have a listen to Elliot Akilai on that.
So, just found out that Winston Peters has come back and he's signed.
He's referring to the United Nations Migration Pact there.
Yep, very angry. Very angry. We, as a political party, New Zealand First, have been very similar to us, but in a few very strong differences points. But sovereignty was never supposed to be the big difference. And what Winston Peters has done, and what Jacinda Ardern have done, is signed us up away from our traditional allies, Israel, Australia, the US, countries who had enough strength in their bones to make a stand on sovereignty. But instead we haven't. We've just gone straight with the UN cool group, and they've signed us up. Fine. I am someone who always said to people, if you want to beat Winston Peters, don't fight him. He thrives on the fight. That's how he goes. But this is just a step too far. Mr. Peters, what you've done is you basically sold us down the river. I don't care about what you are saying about your legal references. Because when you read the document itself, you're absolutely right. It is not replacing sovereignty. It's a promise to replace sovereignty. A promise to sensitize and educate the media. A promise to give migrants absolutely free access to what should be the right of citizens and should be the right of legal immigrants.
Exactly. Yes, folks, Winston is a fake. What nationalist would sign the United Nations Migration Pact? I don't believe a word the guy says. He fooled me once, but never again. The guy is a compulsive liar, and I don't believe a word he is saying in this court case either.